So if you could give me your full name?
Xochitl Torres,
Xochitl Torres. And who are you affiliated with?
Xolar Reset Initiative.
Perfect. What do you guys do there?
So I'm the founder of Xolar Reset Initiative, which is a nonprofit organization. It's basically the safe space for consumers that already bought solar and are basically needing any type of customer support, service calls. Installers went bankrupt. They're just in a bad situation. They're a detractor of the industry, and our job is to turn them into a promoter through resources that we gather from the industry.
Very nice to meet you.
Yes.
I'm a big fan. I didn't know you were Xolar Reset.
Oh, really?
Abby Buckmiller,
Yeah, she's on my board.
great friend of mine.
Wow.
Steve and Abby, good friends of
Yes.
mine. I always comment on the Xolar Reset whenever she reposts it. I'm like, dude, that's so cool. Like, I want to get in that. And then I just see it's mostly women, so I know probably not. I'm excluded from that.
No, there's no exclusion. So the reason why I kind of selected certain women, because as a nonprofit, you have to have
Yeah.
a board, right?
Yeah.
You're governed, you're under scrutiny of the federal government, basically, to keep your tax exempt status. And just because of the background of the ladies, and I had previous engagement with them, I felt it was ideal. And since right now we're laying down the structure of how to actually deploy fully to the industry before we invite more people, that's only the only reason why. It's not all females. It could be,
Sorry. Very
different
presumptuous
genders.
on my end. I saw all ladies. I was like, I'm not even going to ask if I can be a part of it, but I cheer you on from the sidelines.
Yes, but let me say this. I did put all ladies because this is a type of movement that you have to be like a natural nurturer, wanting to give your free time. So I know that they're willing, and I was kind of testing out the waters, right, to see, and I've got a lot of good response, a lot of male, any type of gender, right, really, they're really wanting to help. It's not gender specific, just strategy on my behalf to push the movement. Yeah.
Smart. It's powerful too.
Yes,
It is
women are very powerful.
Well, and just the way that it's kind of like a reconciliation of things, right? Like setting again, this is not being stereotypical, and I don't even want to say it. I'm not even going to say it out loud. But you guys are just resetting the foundations.
Yeah.
And that's
we're going to rebirth the solar industry. Just
I can't do that, obviously. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Okay, so my first question for you is, I'll say it in Spanish and then English.
Okay.
So, ¿qué error profesional te ha dado la mayor lección? So, what career mistake has given you the biggest lesson so far?
Un error profesional que me ha dado, pues no sé, la mejor lección, yo creo es tener un ego muy grande. O sea, muchos de nosotros, porque nos creemos chingones y hacemos dinero y creamos compañías.
Big egos, badasses.
Sí, o sea, como que perdemos suelo y de repente dices, cabrón, I'm not that big of a hotshot that I thought I was. So I think for me that's what it is. Ego, which as of now it's more impact, less ego, more impact, less titles, more impact, less anything that's just self-indulging. Yeah.
I love that. There's a book by Ryan Holiday called Ego is the Enemy. Mm-hmm. And I just actually gave that to a friend last week. But I'm a big fan of that. I just got done talking to somebody about how this industry has such a low barrier of entry that as soon as they get one check, they think they're just the shit.
Yeah.
Top of the world, they're badass, they're better than everyone, and that ego really runs. It gives somebody instant gratification, instant credit, and really all that is short-term gratification.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. ¿Cuál es el mayor riesgo que has corrido? So what's the greatest risk you have taken so far?
Pues yo digo que el mayor riesgo es el de la empresa sin fines de lucro, Xolar Reset, pues como todos saben, una empresa sin fines de lucro, o sea, no estás vendiendo nada, literalmente es puro dar y tienes que esperar a recibir. Eso para mí es un riesgo, pues porque yo siempre he estado en ventas, B2C, B2B, así que ahorita es como que es un riesgo porque no sé si va a funcionar a la magnitud de que voy a poder yo emplear a personas, me voy a poder pagar yo misma. So it's a risk.
Algo de esperanza.
So I'll answer it in English. I guess the biggest risk that I've had right now in the industry is launching this nonprofit. Yeah. Nonprofit does not mean that the company cannot make revenue and pay, or like myself or anybody I employ. It's run like any other business. It's just kind of harder to get it off the ground because you have to use a lot of your own resources, your own capital. So that's kind of like a risk move on my end because how am I depleting, and then how do I replenish, right?
Yeah.
So.
And I guess you have that mapped out, but you have other revenue sources. So now it's a time thing. It's like where you're putting essentially your extra time and then the passion that comes from it. I'm sure it may not fulfill the bank accounts just yet, but from speaking with you and understanding your personality thus far, it does seem that there's a sense of fulfillment that you get out of knowing you're doing the right thing.
Yes, you're totally right. So it doesn't, I guess I've gotten to a point in my life that as long as I can make the bare minimum, pay my bills and do this passion project, then I am good enough. Although I'm in the solar industry and all my background is sales, I can go knock doors and everything and just, have Ferraris and Lambos, but it's not filling. So I've hit that point in my life that I'm just like, I'm comfortable, bare minimum, impact, and let the rest flow. Yeah.
I don't want to keep recommending books, but there's a book called Essentialism, which is like on minimal living. I think you already embody it. Most people don't really, they always want more.
Nice.
And more might be the problem.
Yeah, and I think that's what I'm kind of feeling like an outlier in the industry right now, because everybody's like, well, how are you making money? And like, what do you mean you're not? And I'm like, I just don't care. Not that I don't care. I care to pay my bills, but if at least I can meet that standard, I'm pretty much.
¿Cuál fue tu primera victoria que te hizo creer que estabas haciendo lo correcto? So what was your first victory that made you believe that what you're doing is the right thing?
Okay, a la primera señora que la ayudé, su sistema no estaba funcionando desde marzo, así que bastantes meses. Yo no tenía dinero para pagarle a la instaladora la reparación, pero yo le dije a la instaladora, bueno, te mando las ayudas and I'll give you a tax write-off. So then that was like an even trade because they did an in-kin type of service. El mensaje que me mandó la señora en cuanto se le arregló el sistema era un cableado, reset, remonitor. Me mandó como un párrafo de este calo y lo leí y fue cuando dije, no manches, o sea, sí está funcionando. Y ese primer proyecto, o sea, sin dinero de mi bolsillo, nomás con una instaladora que dijo, te apoyamos, Xochitl, y yo pues te doy el beneficio del tax write-off. That's whenever I was like, okay, it's the right direction.
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. So that was the first time, were you in sales at that time?
No, so this is for Xolar Reset specifically a couple months ago. And no, so I phased out from a company that I co-founded as of April and officially exited the company in July. So I'm just running off of my, my severance, whatever the case may be. And I was kind of like, it was the first time that I kind of proved my movement, my mission, and it just kind of fueled me all over again.
That's beautiful.
Because I left from sales, I left from B2B, I left from a founder position and all that good title stuff to like noble acts.
Ego.
So yeah,
ego
I
stuff.
left it all behind. Yeah, literally.
Good for you. That's powerful. That's powerful to know that through your efforts and through trials, you can find something purposeful for you. Right?
Yeah.
You can find meaning in what you do in your day to day, and that it is admirable stuff because you are essentially cleaning up the shit of other people's messes, or helping somebody out when they have to do a re-roof, something that is just very much so tedious and can be super stressful. You get to come in and I wouldn't say play the hero, but you get to play a part inside of the story that really makes you an added figure, an added character inside of their
And then
success.
like the most beautiful thing is that I'm not doing this on my own. Like I have people on my team, right, that advise me well, such as Abby Buckmiller, Alex Haw, Christy Conrood, and we have a secretary, her name is Priscilla Townsend, like exemplary paralegal that helps us with all our stuff. But I also have installers, sales organizations, every different component in the industry that supports. So when we have these victories in Xolar Reset, like the testimonies, I want it to be clear that this is coming from the industry, not just from Xochitl, not just from Xolar Reset. The industry is helping, whether it's through in-kin contributions, actual monetary donations, whatever the case may be. It's an industry effort. So everybody sees the industry in a different light.
That's a squad. That's a squad.
Yeah.
I know all of them.
Yeah.
Abby, Alex, Chrissy, Nasunchi, like that squad. Like, I got to meet you somewhat today, and we had some conversations. I know them from the history of solar and working with them in different facets, but that's awesome. I'm a big fan already. I didn't know through our conversation earlier it was Xolar Reset.
It is.
So I'm very much so catching up.
Okay,
but
nice.
It's super cool to know that. Again, super admirable. So this is a fun one. ¿Cómo evita volver complaciente en su función? So
Okay.
how do you avoid becoming complacent in your role? Right? Like, there's day-to-day trials, tribulations, like you already said, phasing out of a company, removing titles,
So,
understanding the ego. How do you keep going?
I think with Xolar Reset Initiative, it's a little bit harder for me to be complacent because I'm literally fixing the biggest problem in the industry. So it's actually where I thrive better. Like since as long as I have memory, I've always wanted to be like a problem solver. Like you cannot tell me there's a problem until because I will not move from there. But in my previous endeavors, I did fall complacent because it's like, oh, we have an office, we have a team, and I just give orders or whatever the case. And we feel like we've reached a certain realization of the company that I think it's easier to fall complacent like that. Because then you put a title and then it's like your title is what's holding you up. So I think I have been over that since I let that go, and now my movement requires me to not be able to be complacent because there's so much things to solve.
Yeah.
So I think right now currently I'm not suffering of that, but I have in the past.
Cool. What do you think got you out of that when you were suffering from it?
I think initially you start first, obviously, as a human being, you start noticing other people's egos and stuff. But then it comes a time that you have to look in the mirror and you have to be like, wait, well, I'm doing it too.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then I think once I took a small break, like a good few days, where I just literally separated myself from the solar industry. I looked at the whole everything like that I have, I guess, paved through. And then that's when it hit me. I'm like, wait, there's a bigger problem and nobody's focusing on it. And then after that, it was just go time, Xolar Reset.
That's so funny because you just explained in your own lifestyle, your own reset.
Yeah, I guess so.
You literally just explained that you reset your own self mentally, removing yourself and came back.
Detachment. I detached and resetted myself.
Yeah, you did. Detach and reset. That's hilarious.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is a fun one for me. I had a really hard time saying asesoramiento. So, ¿cuál es el mayor asesoramiento profesional que has recibido? So, what's the best professional advice you have received?
Okay.
No, this is a hard one.
I know. I'm trying to think. Okay. I'm like, this is a tough one. I mean, I think there's a lot, but
there's a lot.
I guess the most valuable piece of advice professionally, I think, is that you cannot control people, but you can control systems and processes. That's probably the biggest one.
You must have a strict household.
Oh yeah, my dad snapped his finger. You have to be there 0.5 seconds.
Yeah, no, that's super cool. That's so true. You can't control people. You can't control systems and processes.
Yeah.
I was gonna say you can't control people, but you can control yourself.
Yeah.
You can't control outcomes, but you can control perspective.
Yeah.
Right? Like that. I thought that's where you're going with it, but you went total operational side, and you can control systems and processes.
Yeah, because I had this.
Elon Musk.
Yeah, I had this conflict internally and professionally with Xolar Reset, where if my mission is to fix a reputation, what if I am like, there's this company that has a very bad reputation and they want to work with me? Is that going to taint the name of the nonprofit? And then I'm like, well, that's kind of what I'm here for. So how do I avoid people still doing bad? And it's just that, putting a system and a process in place, something that they have to follow, something that it's very black and white. Like, hey, now I'm not the judge of saying you're good, you're bad. I'm just, here's the system, here's the process that works, and if you can't follow it, you can't partake or be associated with the nonprofit.
So how do we get associated with that? How do we have our efforts or application to say, I want to join Xolar Reset?
So Xolar Reset Initiative, there's many different ways. We accept sponsorships, like monthly donors keep us alive. Also, a lot of people that are out there door knocking, and they just run into these situations, because I think the boots on the ground are the ones that really see it. They knock the door and homeowner says, no, I don't want solar. My mom got screwed over. Oh, well, ma'am, I'm not sure what happened there, but there's good news. There's this nonprofit that specializes specifically on that. Let me connect you with them. And it doesn't happen often, but there is something for that. Now let's move on to your consultation, right? So that's the empowerment for the sales people.
De-escalate the situation.
De-escalate it, give them a solution. And then, well, for us, we want anybody that aligns with the same values, ethics, whether you want to be actively, in the day-to-day helping us or just monetarily. I mean, either or, we appreciate, or just resharing our stuff. That's also, you can help in multiple ways.
Yeah, do you guys have an Instagram?
Yes, we have Instagram, we have Facebook, we have Google Forms, we have 800 number, like everything where people can get in contact with us.
That's cool. Okay. Okay, so this is also a fun one. ¿Qué consejo le darías a tu yo más joven al comienzo de tu carrera?
Okay.
So what advice would you give your younger self at the beginning of your career?
De mi carrera solar, me imagino.
Por favor.
El consejo que le daría a la Xochitl pequeñita de hace 4 años en la industria solar, la verdad hubiera sido que la pensara más antes de que le dijera a un cliente que firme un contrato de 20, 25 años. Porque yo no soy...
¿Qué es un contrato?
O sea, porque yo soy cerradora. Yo he estado en ventas desde el 2011, 2010, yo qué sé. Entonces, cuando yo entré a la industria solar es de que, Xochitl, le mueves aquí, le mueves acá, que firmen y ya. Pero ser buena cerradora no significa que le hayas hecho una buena obra a ese cliente. Entonces muchas veces yo digo, y ni me fijé en esto, no me fijé en esto. Yo no sé si mis clientes ahorita están sufriendo, ¿me explico? Y nunca lo he escuchado, pero tal vez uno por ahí sí le pasó algo, así que ese es mi consejo. Pon más atención, ojo, sí.
All right, pay more attention.
Yeah, pay more attention. That's important.
I had some beautiful advice from a guy I was sitting next to on the plane the other day. He's a father. I said, "What's the secret?" He had three daughters. He's a single dad. 2 of them are in college. Like, what's the secret to parenting? And he's like, pay attention to your kids.
Oh shit.
That's it. It's all he said. He said,
Yeah.
I just paid attention to my girls. That's it. I listened to them, and it hit deep when he said that, because it's like that's all we're ever looking to do. And the way that you said that as a consultant or a closer, just pay attention to what you're putting out there, what you're selling, what they're signing. Like,
yeah, that's important.
Shit is binding, which is terrifying.
It is. I know.
Okay. So, ¿cuál es el mayor desafío al que se ha enfrentado? Is that enfrentado?
Sí, enfrentado
en la industria solar. So, what is the biggest challenge you have faced in the solar industry?
Do you need to translate?
Could you please? Can you read that? No, come here. No, come here, big guy.
We got a special guest.
Por favor.
No.
Here, just read that, okay, guys?
A ver, yo lo leo. Dice, ¿cuál es el mayor desafío al que te has enfrentado en la industria solar? Pues hay muchos.
Perdóname, hermanas.
Entonces, el mayor desafío que me he enfrentado en la industria solar, pues es darme cuenta que hasta en mi propio negocio no se alineaba con los valores y ética que yo tenía como persona. O sea, una compañía que yo fundé con socios, con todo, y llegar un momento de decir, ¿sabes qué? No tenemos los mismos valores, y lo que yo creé, lo que era mi bebé, lo tengo que liberar y empezar algo nuevo.
That is a big challenge.
Yeah.
That is a big challenge. So,
That was
the values
the
you
biggest.
hold weren't being held by those around you or in the industry itself. The way you handled clients weren't being handled the way that you would normally do in normal business.
Yeah, the way that I felt it was needed. O sea, ya la industria amerita que los clientes, los procesos sean diferentes, y pues me encontré en una situación donde yo era la única de que vamos a hacer esta póliza. No. Y pues dije, la neta, mis valores aquí como que no alinean, y no es de que sea malo en la perspectiva de la demás gente, pero es un vacío que yo vi que se tiene que llenar. O sea, bueno, en lo que los demás se enfocan, puro para adelante, yo me voy a enfocar en todo el daño que se ha hecho. O sea, hay toda una guerra y la gente desangrándose y todos nomás, más ventas. ¿Y quién fregados le ayuda a todos los que ya andan ahí muriéndose, todos moribundos?
Es una seguridad de trabajo.
Sí.
Tú sabes que hay bastante trabajo con usted.
Sí.
¿Cómo se dice? El jale no se para.
Sí.
Tienes que limpiar muchas de las how I say mess.
Pues iba a decir desmadre, pero bueno, el desmadre.
Pinche mierda.
No, el desmadre, sí.
El desmadre, sí. Okay, my last question for you. what book would you recommend anybody going into sales, operations? What's a book that really holds true to your heart? Like something that you learned a lot from?
Okay. So this is an interesting one because I read books, but I don't finish books, right?
Dang.
And I think just the last time, who was...
One page can hold the message you need from
Yeah, who was saying this? Was it Simon Sinek that he was saying that he never like, he doesn't know how to read? But like, I start reading books because a page or two does start motivating me. And one that motivates me, and I know a lot of people are like, oh, that's mainstream reading or whatever the case. It's How to Win and Influence Friends and
How
People.
to Win Friends and Influence People.
Yes, by Dale Carnegie.
Yeah.
And the only reason is because my character naturally is very strong. Like I come off very strong. I'm like, you know.
Yeah, I was intimidated talking to you earlier. I was until I was like, oh, okay, you hold a lot of the same values I hold in solar.
Yeah.
You think a lot of the same ways I think, and you were able to speak in a language I don't get to talk to most people in when it comes to the back end of solar.
Yeah.
Like, and I was like, damn, she knows a lot. Like,
Yeah,
I'm not used to that.
Yeah, so that book for me, it kind of reminds me like, Xochitl, you gotta like calm down. Don't be too overbearing with people. So I'm the type of person that I like to open up a book in wherever it lands and I'm gonna start reading it there. And it has stories in not any given order, but it reminds you of your people skills, your soft skills. And I always thought I had people skills up until I had employees, right? Because no, I had people skills when I was trying to sell you something and they last about this long. But whenever I'm gonna be day to day and employees and reprimands and this and that, I'm like, wow, my people skills.
Starts over the next day.
I'm like, wow, my people skills really are not shit. So then that book taught me how to be like more compassionate with people because I used to be the type that I'm like people need to this world is savage. You need to get with the program or business is business, no time for emotions, but that's very cutthroat. So that book really taught me how to be more compassionate, how to put myself beside myself and start listening more to the other people and how they process things. So for me, if you're like me, then that's a good book, obviously.
That's a great book.
Yeah.
That's a very famous book.
Yeah.
Mainstream or not, there's a reason why so many people have put it at the top of their list on getting into sales. And
this is just an extra comment I'm going to put out there because I know people love to kind of for lack of a better word, hate on mainstream stuff. Like, oh, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, everybody reads that or everybody reads that. And to me, I don't know if it's because I have so much faith in humanity, but to me that's a sign of advancement. Like people want to be more educated. So instead of sitting there and bashing people like, oh, everybody read those books, why don't you be proud of somebody that they actually resonate with the book? You know what I mean? So I feel that's something that we should all change within ourselves.
I agree 100%.
Stop measuring up. Again,
stop
ego.
comparing.
More impact, less titles. That's my mantra, my philosophy from now on.
More impact, less titles. I love it. Okay, what's your social media?
My social media is _ Xochitl Torres. Oh, XOs.
Wow.
I know. I'm going to have
read that,
to.
Can you read that? Xochitl Torres _ right here.
Xochitl Torres _
Okay, so it's front and
Yeah.
back.
Or
that's for you, Morley. Tag her in this, please.
Yes, and you can also just follow Xolar Reset, and then you'll probably see me tagged in one of the videos there. Yeah.
I'm manifesting it. I'm joining.
Yeah,
I don't know
definitely.
how, but I am.
So we're structuring right now like for members to join, right, on an enterprise level, individual level, and it just comes down to alignment, ethics, values. Are you gonna sell properly? Like, are you just gonna put out what we are preaching? Is all. Because I don't want to put this power in the wrong hands of somebody to say, oh yeah, I am part of a nonprofit, and then turns around and gets the homeowner all vulnerable and just blindsides them. It could go very wrong, so we have to be very careful. Yeah.
I'll go through all the screening process, I promise. I'll earn my keep. But thank you so much.
Thank you.